Hello, guys. I'm here with Dustin from Cloven Alter. How you doing, man?
Hell, fucking stoked.
Awesome. So, tell me, how did Cloven Alter form?
All right, so I was in a band called Spellbinder, and it was me and my friend Mike playing drums, and his girlfriend Lauren was singing. So it was like kind of the same style of music, but it had girl vocals, and we practiced together and stuff. But we never even had a bass player, so we basically had like a few songs, and we recorded a demo, and I was fucking into it, I was stoked. But then the band kind of just petered out. We didn't practice as much, and they broke up. So I was like, well, shit. What am I going to do? So I had the songs, and I was like, well, fuck it. I'll just write some new songs and keep it going, like, just as a demo project. And I got this dude, Mike Horst. He does a lot of, like, logos and shit for metal bands, and he did a Cloven Alter one because that was the name Mike had come up with. He wanted to change the band name. And the dude did the logo, and it looks awesome. So I was like, man, I'm not going to waste this logo. I'm going to write some songs and at least put out a demo. So I did, like, a 3-song demo of Cloven Alter with some, like, one of the Spellbinder tunes and then some new ones, and just put it out like digitally with that logo, and yeah, that was it. It was a fucking drum machine demo, and I like tried to get people to get stoked on that, and then I ended up contacting Sid and Danny from Stormspell just to share it with them because I already knew about those guys, and then like pretty quickly they like got back to me and Sid was like, yeah, like I'll help you record shit, and I was fucking stoked. And then Danny was like, yeah, I'll help you put it out. I was like, fuck. It all happened really fast. So, not unexpected, but that's the basic story.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, you hit my second question was how did Sed get involved from rock and roll? That's pretty cool.
Well, here's the thing. Like, he has all these YouTube videos, and, he's always posting shit. And I had already seen some of his videos because he had some funny video about running wild and how, like, Rolf always does the same, like, kind of solo tricks and shit. He like, had this video about how like, oh, check out Rolf's like signature move, and he like looped all these solos, and you can hear the beginning is like exactly the same for like a dozen of these different solos about the Running Wild catalog. And I was like, oh man, that's cool. Because I'm like a huge Running Wild fan. They're like one of my favorites. And then eventually I came across Blazing Stone, which is Dead's band. I couldn't fucking believe that shit, man. I was like, whoa, this sounds exactly like classic Running Wild. And everything's like the riffs were there, everything was perfect, and I was stoked on that. So I just actually emailed him about Blazing Stone. I was like, hey man, I really like Blazing Stone. This is just fucking cool. Like, what a cool idea. And then he wrote back, and so that's how we got in contact initially. And then he showed me his other bands. He's got like fucking 10 other bands basically, and then he's like the kind of dude who's constantly doing music, like writing songs, recording songs. So he was in the mood to collaborate and asked me if I had some recordings. So I sent him that Spellbinder demo, which I had at the time, and then the other stuff. And he was like, yeah, this is cool, so stay in touch. And then once I had that Cloven Alter demo, he agreed to jump on board. And, he recorded out all the instruments on that. Like, it's just me singing, and it's him doing everything else. And he recorded all the instruments and mixed the vocals and stuff. So he's a really big part of this project,
Yeah.
Without him, it would still be a bedroom thing, basically.
Yeah. But you're the main songwriter overall, right? Correct? Musically?
Yeah, that's true. And that's, from the beginning, he kind of said, like, yeah, you should write the songs, and then I'll add my little, parts here and there. And he's contributed some good ideas. Basically, the point we're at now, he'll tell me if he thinks that the song is good enough the way it is, or whether it's, like, sounds too boring based on my other shit. And it's great. It's good to have someone who can give you a second listen, and especially someone who I respect. Like, I respect his opinions a lot. And he kind of helps me craft it, make it catchier, maybe just play around with the structure. Because if you listen to his songs are super complex and long, usually like 6 minutes long, and it's filled with tons of dynamics and solos and awesome shit. Whereas, like, the way I write songs, I just want to have a super catchy chorus and a good verse and a good riff. And that's just, because I've come from, like, more of a punk rock background, so I just like to have the sing-along parts. So he kind of helps me develop the songs, but I come to him with the initial ideas and the demos. And I'll send him some MP3s of just the raw songs, the demos of the drum machines, and then we build on it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we operate, yeah.
Yeah. So, vocal-wise, so then you just record it, and then you just send it to him. And then, like you said, he just mixes it.
Yeah, so, like, For a given song, I'll send him like a full song demo with just some shitty drum backing track, you know, some electronic drums with my like sloppy ass guitar playing and vocals, and he'll, you know, once it's finalized, he records everything, you know, records all the instruments, sends it back to me, and then I track all the vocals, usually in the bedroom, you know, and send it back to him.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
That's pretty cool.
That's the way we do it. Yeah, and I've never met him, you know. He lives in Sweden, and we've never even talked on the phone. We just exchange emails, and we've been friends like that for, like, you know, a couple of years now, I think. And it's pretty crazy that you can have a band with people in different countries, and it works. You know, it works great. Like, it works for his schedule. I think it's nice for him, you know, because he gets to do something that's fun, but he doesn't have to put, like, so much effort into it. Because the types of songs I write are a bit more simple compared to, like, rock and rollers or, you know, some of those other bands. And then I'm fucking stoked because all my songs are getting, like, the said treatment, basically, you know. Because the dude just playing, like, my soloing and shit like that is nothing compared to what he can do. So he really adds a lot of value to what my ideas are.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Who did the artwork? I think it's really cool. And was there like a concept behind it? Did you come up with that, or do you find it?
Yeah, man, the artwork's really cool, and I really dig it. But it was a total fluke. Danny from Stormspell, Jordan is his like Bulgarian name, but everybody thinks it's Uridan because of the way it's spelled. So we just call him Danny K. He was the guy who just said like, "Hey, I got this art. Do you want to use it?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And I asked him about the artist and stuff, and apparently he had some kind of like a not ideal, you know, business relationship with this guy, where the guy was like asking for more money than Danny was really wanting to pay, and I don't know if that guy's gonna be like used again, but Danny's got like tons of artists, you know, and I think the guy that is going to be doing the Cloven Alter full-length art is a guy who's really fucking good. I forget his name, but he's done some stuff for like Iron Maiden and shit, and like it's going to be full color and going to look rad. But yeah, the art, it turned out perfectly, I think. I mean, it looks good to the logo. It's a good fit for like what the songs, you know, kind of bring to mind, like image-wise, and I just got really lucky, and I have no idea. I wish I could thank the guy, really, because even though, you know, it might have been a falling out with Danny, like, it's still fucking rad, and I'd like to, like, promote his art somehow, anyway. So if he's out there, he probably doesn't give a shit, but thanks, man.
Have you ever thought about playing live shows, possibly in the future, kind of like, you know, like Metal Lucifer, where they have, like, where they come to the U.S. and they have a certain lineup, or they play Europe, they have a certain lineup. Have you ever thought about doing that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's like a fantasy. I think I like imagine myself at Keep It True Festival or something like that, just like pumping my fists and everything like that. But the only way that would work really is if I went to Sweden. And I'd love to do it. I'd fucking love to do that shit. So, you know, you never know. I'm not expecting it to happen, but, you know, if there's a will, there's a way. I mean, we've already gotten this far. I'd love to do it, though, man. I've never had that opportunity, really, to front a metal band, like, live, because all the other bands I've been in have basically been, like, punk or hardcore. And, yeah, that's cool, too, but just a metal show is a different thing, you know, especially if it's traditional metal, because people are fucking into it, and they're stoked. And it's not like people aren't, like, moshing and doing stupid shit like that. It's just, like, everyone's pumping their fist, headbanging, and it's I love that, you know, so I would love to play live. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So what inspired you to play, because you're saying you played in hardcore and punk bands, what inspired you to play traditional heavy metal?
Well, that's what I started with when I started getting into, like, my own music as a kid. It was first it was metal, because I'm born in 1980, so I was, like, a huge MTV junkie when I was a kid. Like, that's all I'd watch is MTV or cartoons, and MTV at the time was playing all the kind of, like, the hair metal bands, like Warrant and Motley Crue, Poison, and shit like that. So that kind of, like, was my first exposure to metal. And, you know, that's really like rock and roll, like kind of bluesy rock and roll, poppy kind of stuff. So I was initially into the like hooky, you know, kind of anthemy, like stadium rock, you know, butt rock. And then from there I got into thrash, and it was like Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Testament, stuff like that. And even that stuff, you know, by the time I got into it, it wasn't really just like fast thrash anymore. It was more like they developed more of a sound that was, you know, a little bit more commercial and very accessible. I mean, all those Metallica records are fucking great and easy to sing along to. And I just really liked that predictability in the songs, and I really liked to be able to sing along to. And eventually I heard like Dio and Iron Maiden and stuff, and then that kind of put a whole different spin on it because it was pop music really, but it was like had this special feeling to it. It was like the special feeling that was like a little cheesy, but it was still awesome, and you could really take it seriously. It was kind of like the feeling I get watching old like action movies and shit from the 80s and stuff, like all those soundtracks, and combined with some fucking crunchy guitars. So I've always been a sucker for the riffs, like good palm muting and good chuggy, like thrashy riffs and good melodies. So I've always been drawn to the melodic side of music just in general. And with the punk rock stuff that I'm into, like it's all really poppy, melodic stuff too. Mm-hmm. So, I went through phases with metal. Like I've definitely listened to a lot of death metal and black metal and all kinds of, all the different genres. But the stuff that really stands out to me is the very musical, melodic side of it where, it just sticks in your head. It's catchy. I love it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like, I went through kind of one of those phases where he's listening to like just a lot of thrash or something. But I kind of noticed I kind of just hit a lot of different things now. It's not just, I don't stick with just thrash or death metal. I stick with, listen to whatever, like from Autopsy, and the next, a few minutes later I might put on a Thin Lizzy record or something.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, Autopsy, when we were practicing at Spellbinder, we practiced in Oakland, and Autopsy's, like, rehearsal space was right next door to ours. It was fucking rare.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
A lot of those, like, original bands are from, Oakland and shit. Like,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I love basically all metal genres, but what I am most drawn to, I think, is, like, the traditional stuff. And it's funny because, there's this, like, new wave of traditional heavy metal, and I didn't even really know that was a thing. I just wanted to, like, really what my goal was is I always wanted to try and think of a way to meld, like, the skate punk, pop punk stuff that I like with metal. And I don't know if that's really possible, like there's been a couple bands that kind of tried it, but I ended up just writing the way I write, and I've always been a little self-conscious about it because I always pictured metal guys being very musically proficient. But, the more I practiced songwriting and stuff, I realized, like, if you can write a song, like, you don't have to necessarily be a riff master, or you don't have to be, like, a virtuoso, but it helps to have someone like Seth, because he can take a raw idea and craft it into something more sophisticated. So, I got lucky.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. And so, do you have any new songs written so far?
Yeah. We got 10 songs for this full length, and we're gonna do a cover of a song from this 80s movie called Rad. You ever heard of that?
No, I never heard of that.
You can check it out on YouTube. It's 1986. It's like a BMX movie,
and
it had a killer soundtrack. This guy, John Farnham, he's an Australian singer. He had all these like epic tunes. They were going to do this song from that soundtrack. I won't say what it is, but it's going to be fucking cool. Seth already sent me like a pre-production instrumental version of it. They were taking this kind of slightly cheesy 80s, anthem, and we're going to make it metal. And then there's a bunch of other original songs, some old ones too. Like that, we basically took like the two best songs from the little EP that's already out, and then there's a song that was on a sampler, this German sampler called Truheim, that just came out recently, and so there's that song. So I try not to pull too many old ones in, because then people will be bummed, like, oh shit, like you always want to hear new stuff. So I did write a bunch of new stuff, and I was actually just working on a demo yesterday. I sent it to Bed, and was like, tried to improve the chorus, and I'm pretty stoked. I mean, it took a while, and he's always busy, himself. He's always recording. I think he's done like 5 fucking full-length albums at least in the past year. I mean, who does that, And they're all good, too. They're all like really high quality.
Really? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. He's got Rockarollas. He's got Hold, which is like his solo, speed metal project. Blazing Stone, which is the Running Wild project. He's got like a death metal project called Lecter, which kind of sounds cool. It's like old school, kind of Swedish death metal stuff. And that's just 4 of the bands. And I know there's like other bands too that he's involved with, and he helps record. So he's a busy guy.
Isn't he part of a thrash band too?
Yeah, I mean, well, the old Rockarola stuff is kind of more thrashy, more like old school speed metal. But yeah, let me think. Yeah, he might be. I mean, I just saw some shit on Facebook that he was posting. I don't know if he's involved with this band Terminus, but that's something that Stormstone's going to put out. So
Terminus.
It's kind of hard to keep.
Isn't that
Terminus.
band
I don't know.
with the guy from Enforcer or something like that, or no?
Well, I don't know. I know that he did on the last Brayton Holt CD. He got Marta Gabriel from Crystal Viper to do a track, like a vocal track. I don't know if you know Crystal Viper, but they're fucking sweet. You know, they're a Polish band and female fronted, and it's like just classic heavy metal. You know, like old school traditional heavy metal, a little bit of speed metal in there. He might. I know he's into Enforcer. I don't know if he's in contact with those guys or not, but it's a possibility. He's always like looking for ways to collaborate. And he records now too. He's got his own studio. So.
Oh really? Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a band on Stormspell called Starblind.
Mm-hmm.
They're Swedish, I think, and they're good, man. It's like kind of traditional metal, like Iron Maiden style.
Mm-hmm.
Starblind's like an Iron Maiden tune, anyway. And so that he recorded them, and he's been doing a lot. Like he's got a setup at his place in Sweden, and does a lot of recording. I mean, he spends most of his time doing creative stuff with music. It's awesome, like to have someone who has that much time and doesn't waste a single minute. You know, because that's the problem. A lot of times musicians will kind of just fart around and be lazy, and he's not like that. Like he's always grinding away. Like I kind of worry like he's a workaholic. You know, hope he doesn't get burned out, but he just has a knack for coming up with stuff very quickly, and once it's out of his head, he just records it and moves on. It's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So how do you think these new songs that you said you have written, how they compare to the EP? Do you think they're better? Think they're around the same caliber? So, or what would you say?
Yeah. Well, it's pretty much the same style, I'd say. There's a few different little tempo changes and stuff like that. Like there's some faster songs, there's some more mid-tempo, you know, galloping parts and headbanger parts. Every time I do a new one, I just try to make it catchier, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, the one that I was working on yesterday, it's got, like, a little bit more of a new wave of British heavy metal swagger to it, you know? Because with the new wave of British heavy metal, there was always a slight little tinge of blues. And usually wasn't into, you know, incorporating that into the songs. But if you put a little bit of blues in your riffs, it really can kick ass. And so, like, I think, you know, the newer stuff, I don't want it to sound too similar, you know. I don't want it to be like boring, but you know, Cedric kind of keeps me in line when it comes to that stuff. Because a lot of times I have a tendency to use even the same chords, and he'll be like, "Dude, you used the exact same chord progression for that song, so try and change it up." So with him, kind of coaching me a little bit, I know it'll turn out even better, you know, every time.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's pretty cool. And I was gonna say with we're talking about new wave British heavy metal. Isn't it kind of weird though? Obviously, a lot of those bands are great, but a lot of them that aren't like, you know, your Iron Maiden or your Saxon, we kind of only look to like the first two albums or first few albums, like, you know, Tokyo Blade, Angel Witch, and isn't it kind of weird? And then we kind of forget everything else they did because I think they change styles or they like lose members, or like with Blitzkrieg or Holocaust.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of those bands didn't really last very long, you know, like that band Virtue only put out one or two things, and a lot of the real good shit, it's just so rare, you know. There's like a 7-inch or the single. A lot of them didn't even have full-length albums, and it makes me wonder, like why not? You know. And then some of them end up changing their style significantly. And YouTube's great because I didn't really know that much about new wave of British heavy metal until YouTube was available, and then I could do some research and check out bands and just talk to friends and stuff. It's a real shame because there's the punk rock simplicity, but there's the metal melodies, and it's very accessible, and it's not too extreme, and it's a wonderful genre. There's bands that have since, you know, pulled it off really well. Like you were talking to Ryan Waste in one of your interviews, and that band that he does, Vulture, is fucking great, you know? Yeah. And I really like that. And it's nice to hear a modern twist, because when you listen to the old recordings, you know, a lot of those songs are awesome, and when you beef up the production, to me, that makes it sound even cooler.
Yeah.
Although, you know, it's actually cool to have the raw production, too, and it kind of makes me inspired a little more, because a lot of the thing with the new wave of British heavy metal is the songs were heavy and catchy, but they weren't super complicated to play. You know, the riffs are fairly simple, and that's what makes people want to start bands, you know? Like, that's what makes people want to try it themselves. Like the Ramones, you know, they had like 3 or 4 chord songs, and that's how all these punk bands got started. So I think that's important, because I'm not the type of dude who's going to want to, like, take music lessons or fucking learn how to read music and shit like that. Like, I just want to create it and put my own spin on it. So it's important to have a music style that is accessible, you know, and people can feel like they can do it themselves. Otherwise, and there's like in metal, there's certainly genres that I could never touch, you know, like I could never fucking do like technical, brutal death metal, like that stuff really impresses me because you have to be fully committed to that shit, you know, to really like even be able to pull it off. Like there's no sense in doing like a half-assed technical death metal band, you know. But like I'm kind of a half-assed musician, so for me, if I can just get by on the catchiness and the solid songwriting, then that would be good enough.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I totally get it.
Yeah.
So I'm out of questions. So is there any last words or shouts you want to say? Anything to the fans?
Yeah, sure, man. I mean, thank you, Nathan, for interviewing me. Like I said, it's a fucking thrill for me that people give a shit, and like I didn't really expect people to really be into Cloven Alter that much, but I've gotten a lot of requests to send CDs to different places, you know, like Singapore and Poland and Germany and different parts of the world. And it's kind of cool to see that metal is still worldwide, and there's places where people are very committed to it, and I feel very honored to be like kind of accepted into that fold, you know. And I want to, you know, keep making music that people will like, and I'm gonna, you know, try and work really hard and make it a priority in my life because it really gives me a lot of pleasure and fulfillment. So anyone who fucking has heard my shit and has liked it, I just want to say, hells, you know, and fucking thank you, Sid, for making it possible because without him, you know, probably no one would have heard it, you know. And Danny Kaye from Storm Spell, I want to give him credit, of course. And I want to thank Lenny from the band Skullwinks, sorry. He's going to be pissed. I fucking almost forgot his name. Skullwinks from Germany is fucking rad. And they put out the sampler Truheim, which Cloven Alter got on, so I was really stoked. A lot of good, you know, old school speed metal and, you know, traditional metal on that CD. And that's pretty much it, man. And you're in Riverside, so come up to the Bay Area and we'll fucking headbang and listen to some cool records and go to a show or something.
Yeah, definitely, man. One day, hopefully.
All right, man. Well, yeah, and keep doing your thing. Because, man, doing interviews and doing zines and whatever you can do, it's great. Because I found out about your shit because I was looking at interviews and I was like, wow, this is cool. I love listening to interviews. I love just the community and, you know, exposing all the new bands and, you know, keep it vital because the scene is more than just the music. It's like everybody involved, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, man, thank you, and hope you have a good one, man.
All right, man. Yeah, take care.
You too.